This question was plot the coordinates 0, -2 and 1, 0 on the graph. It's the only thing you know. Now you've got to make a straight line equation out of that. So when you're plotting, 0 is your x coordinate, always, and your y coordinate is the second number. So we read x before we read y, and we know that the horizontal axis is always x. So we put the coordinate 0, x's, so we move 0 along on the x-axis and we go -2 down on the y-axis. Gives us our first point. Then we have the point 1, 0, we go 1 along on the x-axis and we don't go any up or down. So here is my coordinate 0, -2, and here is my coordinate 1, 0. Now I have to draw a line through these to make a straight line. And my question is, what is the equation of this straight line? Well, we know that every straight line has an equation of the form y equals kx plus m. Every single straight line equation has this form, and you have to remember it, okay? The m here is what we call the intercept. And this is the really, really easy one to get, because what you do here when it comes to, you look at this line and you say, where does this line cut the y-axis? So you follow the line and you see, oh look, here's where it cuts the y-axis. That's when x equals 0. We haven't moved anything in the x direction. What's the value of y where it cuts the y-axis? Well, it's -2. So the intercept is the really easy thing to find. You just look at where does the line cut the y-axis. Then we have to determine the gradient, and this is k. So k is the gradient, and it just means how steep. How steep is this curve? I forgot to put in my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I forgot to put in my points here. So if we're going to work out how steep it is, there's a little simple way of remembering that. We can say that the gradient is the same as rise over run. Okay? Rise means how steep is it? How much is it in the y direction? And we can work out that by saying y2 minus y1. That's how steep it is in the y direction. Okay? And the run is how long it is if we were running horizontally. So it's x2 minus x1. How do we know which is y2 and how do we know which is y1? Well, we go back to our coordinates here. And we have 1, 0, and we have 0, -2. The one that's in the lowest point here, this is our x1 and our x2. So this one we would call x1 and this one we would call y1. So our coordinates, first coordinates are x1 and y1. Our second coordinates are x2 and y2. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to find out how steep this line is. And it wouldn't matter where I took it, if I decided to take this point or even if I took this point up here. So this is the rise and this is the run. If I'm going to work out how steep the rise is, I look at my y coordinates here. Here's -2 and here's 0. So the difference between -2 minus 0, that's my rise. This was my y coordinate and this was my x coordinate. Okay, sorry, it's supposed to be y2 minus y1. y2 is 0. 0 minus -2. y2 minus y1. And my x coordinate then, it's how far we're going on the horizontal axis. x2 is 1 and x1 is 0. So 1 minus 0. So if I'm going to plug in my numbers here then, I get y2 minus y1, which is 0 minus minus 2, divided by 1 minus 0. 0 minus minus 2 is plus 2, divided by 1 equals 2. That's the maths of it. And it's a little bit unclear here. We'll take it away from here. What is it actually saying? What does it mean? Well, it's actually only saying, how many do I go up for every one I go across? And if I look here on this, I'm going 2 steps up, and I'm going 1 step across. So you can think of this one as being the number of places I move upwards divided by the number of places I move downwards. Okay? So the number of places I moved up, I moved from here to here, I moved 2 steps upwards. I moved from minus 2 up to 0. How many did I move along? I moved from 0 to 1, so I only moved 1 place along. So this gives us a gradient of 2. So now I know that if I put this is equal to k, k now equals 2. So the equation of this straight line is y equals 2x minus 2. I go 2 up for every one I go along. If I was to take the next point here, let's take this one here. If I was to go 2 along here, I would go 4 up. 4 divided by 2 is also 2. If I was to go 3 along here, I'd come up to the 6 up here. So I get 6 divided by 3 is also 2. So it doesn't matter which points you decide to choose on your gradient. As long as you choose the points correctly and then you think, how long am I going upwards divided by how long I'm going across. Rise over run. That gives you the equation of the straight line. So now we've worked out the equation of that line is y equals 2x minus 2. And it's always, this one is always the intercept, and this one is always the gradient. How steep, okay? If the line is going in this direction, the gradient always has a positive number. If the line had been going in this direction, the gradient would have always had a minus number in front of the k. So anything going like up the mountain, like that, has a plus number in front of the gradient, and anything going down the mountain has a minus number. Other important words when it comes to graphs is this one here, origin. You need to know that the origin point is point 0, 0. You're not going anywhere in the x and you're not going anywhere in the y. And any graph that does not go through the origin is called non-proportional. So this is a non-proportional graph. If it had gone through the origin at the start, it would have been called a proportional graph. Okay?